What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, back for the recap and betting results of UFC 282, which wrapped up last night as Magomed Ankalaev and Jan Blachowicz actually fought to a split draw for the vacant light heavyweight championship. So we still have no champion after Yuri had vacated his belt for injury. So looks like as of the post-fight press conference, Dana White says that Jamal Hill and Glover Teixeira in Brazil early 2023 will be the next championship for the vacant belt at that weight class. So we had 12 fights last night. Very, very fun event. I know that the last two decisions kind of left a bittersweet feeling for all the MMA fans. Controversial, to say the least, but 12 fights and the first 10 actually all finished inside the distance without needing judges' scorecards. On the picks, I went 10-1 and 1 draw. The only loss that I had was the Paddy Pimblett-Jared Gordon result. 6 money lines I played on this card and 3 long shot props, 0.1 unit apiece on those long shots. None of those came through as Cameron Simon and, of course, Raul Rosas Jr. came through with those W's. But the 6 money lines were the hugest part of my investment betting-wise. 97% of my bankroll was on those 6 money lines I gave out, and none of them lost. 5 of them came through, and the last one was on Ankalaev, which was, like I said, a split draw, so that was a push. Got our money back on that one, so I'll go through some of these picks. But overall, you guys, I mean, I had to fix my mistake from last week at UFC Orlando. I went 10-4 on those picks last week, and I still ended up losing just because I was parlaying, playing overs and unders and props and things like that. I figured let me stick what I'm good at, picking the winner of these fights and investing accordingly, and it came out very well for us this week. Like I said, 12-1 and 1 on picks, up 7.12 units on the night, so very good result there. As far as like the favorites on this card, 9 favorites came through, 2 underdogs came through, which I was on both of their money lines, TJ Brown and Chris Curtis, and then we had the 1 draw in the main event. The unders, surprisingly, I think cashed only 4 out of the 12 fights, and that was because it's shocking because most of the fights didn't go to decision, right? But there was a lot of over-under set at 1.5, a lot of really late finishes and these over-under 2.5s as well. So the unders weren't the best play this week. Favorites did very well, and as far as just betting fight doesn't go to decision instead of the unders and overs, that was a good play this week as well. So, okay, I guess I'll start with the very first fight of the night, which was Cameron Simon versus Steven Kozlow at bantamweight. 2 very young professionals making their debut. I did have a 0.1 unit sprinkle on the long shot prop of plus 1,200 for Steven Kozlow to get that round 1 submission. The only way he's shown to get wins in his pro career. And he certainly went for it. Got the fight to the mat, was wrapping up Cameron Simon and triangle attempts and other things like that. He got very close and he at least tried for that prop, but it did not cash. Eventually Cameron Simon showed that he was the more complete fighter and got the late knockout. The next long shot props I had were later on up the prelims. I did bet the 0.1 unit apiece on the round 2 and round 3 knockout for Jay Perrin, just in case Raul Rosas Jr. at 18 years old had like some sort of adrenaline dump, maybe cranked in a submission that didn't quite land in round 1, and then he got knocked out later in the fight. Those were huge at plus 2,800, plus 3,500 for those props. They did not hit because Raul Rosas Jr., the youngest fighter in UFC history at 18 years old, He got the early submission 2 minutes and 44 seconds in. Did not quite have that rear naked choke locked in. He just turned it into a neck crank and got the tap. Very impressive stuff from Rosas Jr. So now that those 0.3 units are out of the way for those props, moving on to all of the money lines, starting with the second fight of the night, TJ Brown, minus 105 on the money line. I did pay that price to win 1 unit over the debuting Eric Silva, and I know that this was not a popular pick. I'm sure a lot of people had doubts in betting TJ Brown here, but I don't know. This is one of those plays where you can even have a generalist like TJ Brown, somebody who has holes in their game, but if he's been to the big stage 5 times in the UFC against a good level of competition, he's proven he can go time and time again to decision and show that grit. I'll take that at even money any day of the week over a debuting guy in Eric Silva, 35 years old, that shows kind of a one-dimensional skill set, in my opinion, kind of steamrolling all of his opponents at the low level so far in round 1 for the past few years. So give me the veteran of the UFC that can at least go the distance every time there. Like if TJ Brown was a minus 150, a minus 175. Then I would not have bet this fight. But at even money, underdog pick 'em price, the way that TJ Brown was, that's why I bet him. I'm always skeptical of guys making their debut and not showing that they can go all 3 rounds. And as you would have it, Eric Silva folds by round 3, gets tapped out. So that was the first cash there. Billy Q was the second money line. Paid his price tag of minus 160 to win 1 unit there over Alexander Hernandez. Skeptical of the Hernandez dropping down to featherweight for the first time, knowing that Billy Q was going to push the pace. He did get sliced up by elbows in round 1. You could have got a nice, big, fat plus number on Billy Q going into round 2. Very good play right there by my friend Lou Betya. He cashed on that. I think he put like 3 units at plus 200 or something on Billy Q in between rounds. But I stuck with my money line play there, and we got that second round stoppage from Billy Q, showing good pace and good output as usual. First, or technically second underdog play of the night was on the next fight. Chris Curtis as an underdog. I think I got him at like plus 130 or something. You could have done better than that. I paid that price. 2 units, actually, to get that underdog play on Chris Curtis. I was pretty confident he'd get the win over Joaquin Buckley. And my God, it was not looking good. He was getting outstruck, outvolumed. Joaquin Buckley looked very improved with his combinations, mixing up the target, but eventually he got caught. He got countered off of a kick, and Chris Curtis got that knockout, jumped all over Joaquin Buckley, got the second round stoppage. Very good play there. And I believe that was one of those cases where even though it was a second round, sort of early second round stoppage, it still was just over that 1.5 round mark. So I know some sharp people were on that over 1.5 for that middleweight bout as well. Another money line cash there. The next money line I had was all the way up on the main card, which is Ilia Topuria to defeat Bryce Mitchell. I was pretty vocal about the fact that I was regretting this play. This is a very close fight. Bryce Mitchell has an extremely good skill set, even though it's very one-dimensional. His striking was a bit of an unknown, but his wrestling is so slick and so strong, and he goes for it relentlessly. But Ilia Topuria showed so good sprawl and brawl potential, stuffed a lot of the takedowns, able to get back to his feet at times, and just box up and outstrike Bryce Mitchell, who didn't have an answer to the strong striking. So Ilia Topuria able to, bloody up the face of Bryce Mitchell and eventually get the submission of his own halfway through round 2. So another money line cash there. I believe 1 unit was gained off of that. The next one was, that was one of the diciest fights. Middleweight bout between Dricus du Plessis and Darren Till. Dricus du Plessis, I think he landed like 40 strikes to 0 in round 1, maybe more. It was either 40 or 60 strikes to 0 in round 1. Let me see here. He was just hammering Darren Till against the cage. The ref almost stopped it. I was hoping for the early stoppage there, of course, because I had money on it. I had 2.5 units on Dricus at like minus 145 odds. And let's see here in round 1. Yeah, it was 60 strikes, significant strikes to 0 for Darren Till in round 1. I believe they're saying now it's 6. Somehow they gave him 6 significant strikes on the metrics now. Crazy result there. Almost got the stoppage, but Dricus was at risk of gassing himself out in round 1 because he did not get that stoppage. Had to come out for a second and third round of that fight, but eventually able to get the fight to the ground in round 3 and get that neck crank on Darren Till. So, as usual, Dricus du Plessis, I said this pre-fight, I've seen Dricus du Plessis dig deep and persevere and win a fight through fatigue. Haven't seen that from Darren Till, certainly not at this point in his career past his prime. So a very good cash there, but it was super tense. That was an exciting fight. Moving on to the next money line I had was the main event. So we were 5 money lines in, 5 money lines got the W. The main event was Jan Blachowicz, Magomed Ankalaev. I did have 2.5 units on Magomed Ankalaev to win 1. He was a heavy favorite, and I believed that there was still value left over. Jan Blachowicz destroyed the calf of Magomed Ankalaev. I mean, I'm the one person probably that felt very good about getting a draw in this fight. I'm not saying that's how it should have been scored. I'm not going to get too much into the scoring of the Paddy Pimblett, Jared Gordon, Blachowicz, Ankalaev fight cards. I mean, I thought Jared Gordon won rounds 1 and rounds 3 in that fight. Inactive third round, but I thought he controlled the grappling very well in that one. What are you going to do? Close decisions, go either way. Sometimes you're on the winning side, sometimes the losing side. I'm not going to get too much into the controversy of it, but Blachowicz and Ankalaev, I was shocked that Ankalaev was able to fight through that busted up leg in rounds 3, 4, and 5. I'm lucky to have gotten a push and gotten the money back at Ankalaev. No matter how well he finished, how strong he finished with a 10-8 scorecard in round 3, I'm just lucky to get the money back on that, because if I could have cashed out halfway through that fight when I saw Ankalaev almost getting knocked down by leg kicks, I certainly would have cashed out that bet. So I'm glad it came that way for us. Anybody on Jan Blachowicz, good call on that one. The early part of the fight, Blachowicz was certainly in the fight and doing very well. Sad to see we still have no champion at this weight class, but early 2023, we get to have a fresh matchup of Jamal Hill and Glover Teixeira. So 5 money lines, 1 push. I mean, going up 7.12 units on a week where I really wanted to come back and, play a money line based game plan. It came through. I'm going to keep doing that because just looking back, 10-1-1 on picks this week, 10-4 on picks last week, 7-4 on picks the week before that, 10-4 on picks before that. These should all be winning weeks. If I'm calling who's winning these fights, I'm going to stop getting fancy with the props and, the parlays and things like that moving forward. Stick to what I'm good at and make profit in 2023, as well as next week. We still have one more fight card for the year 2022. Honestly, guys, you can maybe hear in my voice, I am a little bit sick, a little under the weather, so somehow I'm getting through this video without coughing. I'm trying to smoke my stogie here to get over this cold. Hopefully that suffocates the virus. But as far as the full card prediction, I'm going to try to have that out in the next day or two. But I do have my live stream on Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Central Time, and then I'll have Manpreet from MMA Lock of the Night as my final guest of the year. We'll be talking bets and props for Cannonier versus Strickland next week. So one more event to wrap up the year, you guys. Let me know in the comments how you did on the night. And get into the controversy. Let me know in the comments how you thought about that Paddy Pimblett, Jared Gordon decision and the main event one as well. I'm down to hear about it and talk back and forth about the decision results. But I do have to go back and watch the fights before I really speak on it too much. But hope you guys made a lot of money on this fight card. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you guys next time. Cheers.